Hello everyone, this is Al Spectra. Welcome back to the Land of Empires. And today I'm excited to cast a fight, a Holy Mountain fight between server 10 and server 75. Now this is likely going to be one of the biggest fight, if not the biggest clash since the start of the Land of Empires. And both server 10 and server 75 are very strong contenders for the win. I think based on what I've seen in the pre-battle, Server 10 has the slight advantage, primarily attributed to its top players, which I will review later. And 75 has the advantage in terms of player numbers. So, as everyone knows, in the Holy Mountain battles, there are two targets. There's the middle target, so the Holy Mountain as well as the 4 adjacent towers. And then there's the Breath of Light towers. So the Breath of Light towers allows you to attack, to gain attack stats, defensive stats, as well as various Holy Mountain tower buffs. So for example, you can improve your point gain speed, as well as decrease the interval between which the tower attacks the center, which is really important depending on who is actually controlling the center. So now as the players are starting to come in, I will review the top players on both sides. And I think I will do that a little bit later as we approach the start of the center fight. But we can start introducing a couple of players right now. First of all, the strongest player on server 75 is King Leonidas. I'm not too familiar with this player, but he has about 80 million lord power. And lord power is I wouldn't say it is a very important part of Season 6 combat, because in Season 6 combat, the characteristic of how to defend rallies is very difficult. When a rally hits you, or when a very strong solo attack hits you, the archers are actually very vulnerable, and that is a characteristic of Season 6 combat. So when a rally hits you, your archers are almost guaranteed to die no matter how weak the rally is, unless the rally is very weak compared to yours. In other words, the Season 6 cavalry will just simply wipe out the archers, and if you are not able to replenish the archers, your infantry will not be able to take advantage of the archer's skills 3. I'm not too sure whether this account has this hero. I would like to thank Server 75, by the way, for providing me with this alternate account for this commentary. But this archer hero, if you all notice the skill, it increases your melee troops' final ferocity by 50% every 5 seconds with up to 5 stacks. And because it is a passive skill, it doesn't matter if this archer hero dies. You can run one troop, and your infantry will gain a 3.5-fold attack buff. And it does feel much higher than that actually. But your infantry will gain a significant attack buff as long as the archer is alive at the start of the battle. In other words, if you fail to replenish your troops after your archer dies and the next rally hits, for example, if they do a double rally, then your defense will be able to do very little damage. So the point I want to make is that double rallies are very effective in Season 2 combat, and it kind of overcomes a difference in stats that is a result of very high lord power. And of course, the only way you can get very high lord power is if you spend a lot. And props to Server 75, they are much newer than Server 10. So they have relatively respectable power for how new their server is compared to Server 10. However, in terms of raw lord power, Server 10 is much superior in that regards. So the top players here, we have King Leonidas, as I mentioned earlier. We have Juggernaut. We have Miku Eternal, though from what I've last seen, this player still has G9 troops. I hope they addressed that issue, because G10 troops are quite a bit stronger than Glorious 9 troops. I don't see any other Glorious 10 here from Server 75. So now we will move on to Server 10, and it's a perfect time to introduce FRZ as well as General, who are the two primary powerhouses of Server 10. And as we can see, the fight has gotten started. So players are sending solo marchers to the mountain. And this is what you want to do at the beginning, because there are no rally defenders inside the Holy Mountain. So if you can send your troops into the Holy Mountain, then you can automatically set up an initial defense. Now, what Server 75 needs to do is, of course, capture the towers. The towers are a way to wear down the troops that is present inside the defense, especially if you can capture this Breath of Light tower. And we'll be able to see who ultimately takes control or takes advantage of this tower, as well as the other tower which affects the middle. So there is a point tower and there's an interval tower. This is what I like to call them. But what the interval tower, which is what this tower does, is that it reduces the attack interval of your Tower of Judgments. And this is very important when your enemy is controlling the middle, because the only two ways to damage your opponent is to either rally or have the towers just continuously attack them. And healing speedups, as everyone knows, is limited. So the more you can wear down your opponents, the better. And it is important to capture both towers at the same time, because the other tower, what it does is that it increases the point gain, the rate at which you gain points from the center. So if your opponent is controlling the center, then you would want to take control of that tower in order to slow down how fast they can control the center. And looks like there's something going on with my game. I'm not too sure what, but my game appears to be frozen. We'll see if that fixes itself in a moment. But as I mentioned earlier, while that is getting fixed, FRZ and General are the two main powerhouses of Server 10. FRZ has a very powerful account, an account that is nearly maxed, and also 1.4 million power to back, 1.4 billion power actually to back it up. And FRZ will be the main opponent of Server 75 pretty much. FRZ as well as General. General, he is very strong himself. Compared to FRZ, he's a little weaker. But compared to all 75, he has roughly 15 to 20, or I should just say 20 million Lord power above Server 75's strongest player. And one of the main issues I think Server 75 will encounter during this battle is the overall number of troops their relatively weaker members have. Because once again, healing speedups are limited, and once you run out of healing speedups, your Valor will start to fill. And among those who do not have as many troops, for example, this guy, 168 million power, maybe he only has around 800,000 troops. Once your Valor starts filling, you will start running out of infantry. And infantries are very important in Server 12, in Season 6 combat. So once you run out of infantry, your marches will lose a lot of its effectiveness in both attack and defense. So I think the primary advantage of Server 10 is their top players, their top two players, as well as their overall power. So we can see that even the relatively lower players of Server 10 have a lot of troops, and that is simply attributed to how much older Server 10 is compared to Server 75. They had much more time to amass a big army. So we can see a first rally now. I'm not too sure why you would want to rally an empty tower. I personally think it is better to just settle in and see how your opponent reacts. But rallying is not really a wrong move. You can do a lot of setup. You can organize how you want your defense to be set up within the rally, rather than trying to replenish the troops if your opponent does decide to attack. So General moves closer to this tower. Personally, I'm not too sure why they are both hugging the same tower. I think General and FRZ, because they are the two strongest players of Server 10, they should kind of occupy different towers. But I think their strategy may be to just settle in one tower as well as the center. And if your opponent only has 3 towers, of course, it's better than if your opponent had 4 towers. So I'm getting a little sidetracked, but what Server 75, the advantage Server 75 has over Server 10 is simply the number of players participating. So I only think that Server 10 has about, I'll probably try to do a count later, but I don't think they will have more than 40 members here. However, I think Server 75 can easily bring 100 members. And this is what I was kind of mentioning earlier. Maybe he changed his mind, or maybe they want to capture a different tower. But I think in times like this, they should act quickly because, of course, the timer has already started counting down, and this is really a battle of attrition. And you cannot really, I mean, any kind of advantage that you can get, any kind of damage that you can do early on will count in the long run. So we can see more players coming in now. To introduce a couple other members of Server 10, we have Psycho. Psycho is a very strong account. People can also call the account Hitman, but Psycho is currently piloting and he owns a couple very strong accounts. So this account has about 85 million Lord power and a lot of troops, similar to General and FRZ. Now, the other two very strong accounts from Server 10 are Car, which I'm currently trying to find right here, as well as Palm, right here. Now, I know there are a couple, I should say one characteristic about Server 10 whales is that they are very active. Players like General and FRZ, they can play across the entire duration of this event. Players like Psycho, I'm sure he will play across the entire duration, whether this takes 5 hours or 10 hours to capture. Now, Car and Palm are a little different. They might leave at some point, but they will most likely not be active across the entire duration of the event. Now, I have a better understanding of how active Server 10 players are, and they are very active as well as committed. I'm not too sure if that is also reflected by Server 75. I know Server 75 has been looking forward to this battle, as well as Server 10. And yeah, I think this will be a good chance to see really how active they are, how well they are at keeping control of the towers or overall combat dynamics, and how committed they are to beating Server 10. Because at the beginning of this fight, simply based on the numbers, I think they are somewhat evenly matched. Of course, it does depend on how many players show up from Server 75. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, because before this fight kind of ramps up, is that before each hegemony phase, or I should say before the time Holy Mountain starts, there is kind of this preparation phase. I wouldn't say preparation, but rather confluence phase where people can fight across continents. Now, one thing that is interesting is how much higher Server 10's score is compared to Server 75. And this I hope part of this is attributed to the fact that Server 75 has multiple alliances and Server 10 were able to farm a lot of alternate alliances. But one thing that kind of worries me is how much lower the main score here from Server 75 is compared to Server 10. And one thing people typically do before the Holy Mountain starts is weaken the lower members. It doesn't matter if there is a greater than 4 glorious gap between the attacker and the defender. As long as the defender is weakened, it's fewer troops that might be reinforcing a strong rally. And I think Server 75 could have done a better job defending their weaker members to have them not get burned. But we'll see how this battle progresses. I wouldn't call that really something that would decide the outcome of this battle. But what Server 75 really relies on is activity and troop count. So if they are already losing a lot of troops before the fight even starts, of course, that's not good for them. On the other hand, I see General here at 717 million power. So maybe after I left yesterday, they were able to improve their defense of their members, because General is just attacking again and again with solo hits. And he used to be at 740 million power. So we can see that he dropped 23 million power. And this is a fairly significant drop, because when you are attacking other players in SvS, you lose a significant amount of troops that die. Whereas the defender, they are able to resurrect 90% of troops that die. So there's a stark contrast between the attacker and the defender in server versus server. Now this rally should be launching soon, and it won't be that interesting. I'll probably scout it to see how the rally is set up, but because there's no defenders, it's not very interesting to watch. Now rallying this tower, I wouldn't really say it's very smart because General and FRZ are both here. I think they could solo break it if server 75 is not really on top of replenishing the archer. And of course, you need to replenish infantry as well. But the way to do it is to send 2 marches. So one march will replenish 1 archer, and the other march will replenish all the infantry. So as the battle is underway, we can see that people are beginning to contest these Tower of Lights. And the Tower of Lights is, I wouldn't say they are very important at the beginning, but as the battle continues, these towers will give greater and greater buffs. And this will play a fairly significant role in about 2 hours because this buff will go up to 50% or maybe higher. And once you capture all the Breath of Lights, we can see surprisingly actually, server 10 has the majority of the Breath of Lights. And they will begin to give a lot of stats. And those stats, although as I mentioned earlier, double rallies are very effective in Season 6 at overcoming stats, it will play a role in the difference in how many troops you lose per clash. And that is something that will be very important that is very important generally, I should say, in these long battles. So we can see exactly how many players from server 75, and this really showcases their high level of activity. And they really need to depend on this activity to make the difference in their lack of power. And we will be able to examine that over the next few hours. I don't. Okay, that was a misclick. Let me scout this tower. So let's see. I was more interested in this tower because I was interested after the rally hit this tower. I wanted to see how General and FRZ would siege this defense, but it appears that they canceled the rally. So let's take a look at this tower. So one thing I want to kind of focus on in terms of both rally and defense is the level of support. So typically in a rally, you will be able to observe 4 support skills, and you can bring along 4 support skills that can further improve the power of your rally. Now, one thing people may not know is that this also works for defense. Although you cannot see which support skills you are getting supported by in a defensive setup, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You will still be able to take advantage of those skills while defending. So FRZ, we can see he is doing a solo hit against this tower. So let's check immediately. I don't know why this scout is going to Leonidas, but it's kind of annoying me now. So let's take a look immediately at the archer count. Although FRZ did not use the strongest hero team, I probably would have used the Season 5 with Season 6 Arma setup. But depending on the result of the previous battle, he might hit again. It doesn't appear that he will hit, so let's take a quick look. And the archer's already gone. So if he hits again, then he can deal a decent amount of damage to this tower because Season 6 has not, not Season 6, Server 75 has not replenished this tower yet. Okay, that was a second attack, but it's very slow. But I think he still managed to attack before they replenished the troops. So I think personally this was a small mistake that Server 75 made at the beginning. They should replenish the troops much faster than they did. So we can see it would be nice to see the reports. So FRZ is attacking continuously. I think General should join FRZ, but it's fine that he is not. Let's see what he is doing. But I think FRZ should be attacking with the alternate setup, because the Season 6 setup, it has the big weakness of not having disarm and not having the 30% resistance to melee. And overall, I think it's just a much weaker setup overall than Season 5 with Season 6 armor. Because you cannot take advantage of the disarm from Kellerman, you cannot take advantage of the 30%. It's really a 0.7 multiplier of Quinn, and you cannot take advantage of the very powerful buffs that Lisbeth, or I should say debuffs, that Lisbeth provides. So let's take a look now. I think people are replenishing this quick enough that FRZ attacking alone will not be able to. Am I scouting? Where am I scouting? Oh. I have no idea what I just scouted. Okay, let's scout the tower. Okay, it appears that General is rallying something. So he is rallying this tower. Let's take a look at what's inside this tower. And now I will pay a little bit of attention on the rally supports. So King Azod is defending here. He is probably the main defender. So this is kind of bad because he is... Oh, well, I will not comment on whether it's bad just yet. Okay, so it is kind of bad because he has no disarm in this setup. We can see that his rally support skills include not much of anything, actually. Because Michael's skill too, what it does is that it reduces the damage taken in the first 15 seconds of the battle. However, in the first 15 seconds, the Season 6 setup already has a huge amount of damage resistance to the point that you barely take any damage. So Michael's skill really doesn't help. And they don't have any disarm here because Kellerman, he is not able to contribute his Season 4 skill because he is equipped with the Season 6 armor, and therefore he will be contributing his Season 6 skill. And one characteristic of rally support is that skills do not stack. So his contribution is as good as nothing. So all I see are Michael's and Season 6 support. So this defense has no support skills and is therefore really weak. And FRZ is actually soloing this, and I do actually think the solo will be very effective. Of course, more effective if he used the best Season 6 solo setup. But let's take a look. I think they will run out of archers very quickly, probably within the next solo attack. And this tower is going to get solo broken if FRZ is committed. But it doesn't really matter because General is doing the rally. And ironically, solo attacking will actually make it could actually make the tower defense more powerful because people who do not really know what they're doing will just reinforce with an even number of troops. And due to the way that they lose their troops, they will end up reinforcing more infantry than other troop types. And so at the end of the day, this solo attack will cause this defense to become primarily infantry rather than a more evenly distributed troop, rather than a more even distribution between infantry, cavalry, and archer. And that actually makes the defense stronger. So let's see if this is a rally or a real solo attack. I mean, if this is a real rally or a solo attack. Let's just throw in a scout. So FRZ is hitting first. I wonder if this is enough to kill the archers. If it is enough to kill the archers, then this rally can easily punch through the defenses. But there's a sufficient time gap. So this appeared... Okay, so this was a rally, I think. And one thing that I can immediately observe from Server 75 is that they are very slow at reinforcing. And this is a bit concerning in the long run because if they are not committed to using speed-ups, then they will definitely not win against Server 10 because speed up is very important in Season 6 combat. Although I think suppressing this tower or trying to take this tower is not the best idea simply because they are literally adjacent to this tower. I would probably try to focus my attention on this tower, or ideally this tower, because this tower is unoccupied. I don't see a reason why you would focus on this tower when this tower is unoccupied. Simple as that. So the first clash goes to server 10. Let's see if anyone shared the result. It doesn't appear to be the case. But if we do scout, I mostly want to see whether they had archers left. Whether anyone had archers left, because if they didn't have archers left, then the defense is just very weak, because the infantry, although you have a lot of infantry, it cannot really utilize its power. So this was a fairly significant misplay from server 75, because in the early clashes, in extended fights like this, you always want to increase morale. And I don't think this was very good for server 75's morale. But yeah, I kind of fault them for not supporting in time, because it's not like there was a big gap between FRZ's hit and General's hit. I mean, there was a fairly big time gap. They had at least 5 seconds to replenish the archer, but obviously that was not the case. Let's just do a quick count of how big the defense was. We have 20,000. We have almost 40,000. We have 60,000, 75,000, 90,000, 1.1 million, 1.2 million, 1.3 million, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. So this was a 1.9 million defense. And I think server 10 barely took any damage in destroying this defense, simply because there was not any archers in that defense. So we can see the region here is 1.2. And so what server 75 really needs to focus on now is this tower. And this tower is controlled by Car. So I think one of server 75 top players should just kick Car out, or have one of the weaker players do 2 marches. So 1 march to clean up the archer, and the second march to kick the march out. And this is kind of why I think season 6 combat is a bit fairer than other seasons. It is much less of a huge advantage to the big players, because losing the archer just makes your damage suffer so much. And it is very easy to kill the archers by running, let's say, a heavy season 6 cavalry setup. So with a lot of troops, your cavalry can instantly kill the backline archer, and there's very little the opponent can do about it. So let's scout this again. And for now, I just want to quickly take a look at the player's initial power. So we have 1.5 billion power, or 1.45 billion power from FRZ. We have, as I mentioned earlier, about 715 million from General. We have 969 million from Cycle. We have 587 million from Car. And finally, we have 785 million from Palm. Now, once you're past like 600 million power, it doesn't really matter how much higher your power is, because you will be relying a lot on healing speedups, unless you just want to completely lose your entire army. So it will really be a matter of how many healing speedups, or how efficient each trade is, because of how long this fight is going to take. Although at this rate, it's not really going to take that long. But if server 75 kind of steps up their game, I think this fight will be able to drag on for much longer. And one thing I don't like about what server 75 is doing here is that they are not putting their players here. Now, I don't know if there's any prior agreement, although it doesn't look like there is any prior agreement in terms of castle positioning. But I don't think this is the right move. They should at least pit a couple of their strong players in the North Tower. And I'm not too sure why all of their players are here, because troop replenishment is such an important component of Season 6 combat and Season 6 rally combat, that positioning is very important if you cannot just spam speedups for free. And although server 75 has many big spenders, they are not as as rich, I should say, as FRZ and maybe General, to the point that they can just use speed ups without thinking about it. So I think Server 75 is kind of making another mistake here by not putting their strongest players next to the towers that they want to secure. So now what I'm kind of looking for are double rallies on the center or double rally on a tower. I don't think they need to really double rally on a tower because since Server 10 is controlling the center, they're not serious at all in defending the towers. When you control the center, your own towers or towers that are uncaptured will not attack the center. And therefore, there is really no rush to control the towers. And to be honest, I think this tower might be a bait tower from Server 10 against Server 75. So they may want to use this tower as kind of a meat shredder for Server 75. If Server 75 tries to control this tower, then FRZ and General are in prime positions not only to solo pressure, but also to launch very powerful rallies with very short time intervals between them. So let's take a look at this tower's defense once again. And I think King Leonidas, because he is closest to this tower, he really needs to be proactive in making sure that this tower always has archers. Because although you might not lose to a solo attack when you don't have any archers, you also will not be able to deal much damage against the attacking team. And even FRZ does not have unlimited speed ups. Like if he has 100,000, I'm sure he doesn't really want to spend another $10,000 just to buy another 100,000 speed ups. Or in this case, I think $3,000 will suffice. But FRZ, as you can see, is continuously attacking this tower. And General, I'm not too sure if this is a rally. I think it is a rally. So let's take a look at whether there are any archers left. And the defense failed. So I do think there is. And my scouting failed as well, apparently. So it's hard to say whether there's any archers left. We can't tell based on how many troops are remaining in this defense. If there's not that many troops, then they were able to replenish the archers in time. But if the defense looks very strong, then yeah. So the defense looks very strong and the archers are still alive. So I really think what happened was, once again, Server 75 was not able to replenish the archers, and Server 10 was able to get in a hit for free. And so this is a very bad start for Server 75. Overall, they control very few towers. I think this is really just one march in here. Let's take a look if this is a rally. Okay, so this is a rally. In terms of rally support, they have Kellerman, which is good, and nobody else, which is less good. But once again, I don't think this is the correct tower to take. This is the correct tower to take as well as this one, and maybe this one as well. Because Server 75 has such a big numbers advantage, they should really try to spread out a bit and capture these different towers. But I think what they should especially do right now is stop Server 10 from keeping hold of this Breath of Light, because like I personally, I think this is currently their biggest misplay, is to let Server 10 have free control of this tower. They are essentially letting Server 10 capture the middle at 20% higher the speed. And over the next couple hours, this is just going to go up and up, and Server 10 will be able to capture the middle faster and faster, to the point that at the end of the day, even if Server 75 controls, say, 3 or 4 towers, they will not be able to prevent Server 10 from completing the remainder of the points. Server 10 can, like at that point, if there's only like 5,000 points left to fill, Server 10 can just tank the loss. So once again, FRZ is solo attacking these towers. And the issue with this tower, once again, as I mentioned earlier, this is kind of like a meat shredder for server 10. Server 75 is just too far away from this tower to effectively replenish. What Juggernauts needs to do, because the interval at which FRZ is attacking is not really scary. He is not attacking that fast. So I would be sending one archer marches again and again, and this will prevent a lot of the damage that FRZ is able to deal to this defense. Because FRZ is kind of just hitting for free. Like, his march is not very strong once again, because it's not the season 5 march using season 6 armor. If he used the season 5 march with season 6 armor, he would not even suffer that much losses attacking this defense, because the season 5 defense with season 6 armor is just simply so tanky, and so they would still be suffering more losses than FRZ, even though the defense is successful. Okay, I think this is a misclick, but this is a very weird misclick. So I know they had a no castle hit agreement, and I think this castle is close enough for it to be a misclick, but this was a very bad play from FRZ. Now, if it comes down to a free fall, like no more agreement, then this will be, I think, quite dangerous for both sides. But I think they will just brush this off as a misplay. But let's see if FRZ is punished for this, because a hit like this is very powerful. Unfortunately, very powerful, because it kills the entire army pretty much. These players have decently big armies, so that one hit that wipes out your defense will completely fill up your Valor, as well as Hospital. And troops that go into the Valor, they cannot easily be replenished. They cannot be replenished at all until after the combat, after the battle has ended. So this is very unfortunate for Server 75. Though let's see how much impact this mistake has at the end of the day. I'm sure that they are commenting on it right now. It did look like an accidental attack, but that was a very bad move from FRZ, and I think he should somehow punish himself for it. So let's take a look at where the other members are. I'm mostly looking for Tiger, because I think Tiger is supposed to be one of the main rally leaders, I should say, of Server 75. But I don't quite see him around right now. And yeah, this is what I was talking earlier about, how FRZ is treating this as a meat shredder. And because they are not effectively reinforcing this, they are simply taking more losses that they can afford. So in terms of packs, let's see how many packs FRZ can buy. So he can pretty much buy unlimited packs. This is already, what, $10,000? So he can spend up to $10,000 on healing speedups, and this will give him 550,000, or I should say 650,000 hours of healing speedups. So he has no issue just continuously pressuring. And so far, Server 75 has done a very terrible job at countering that pressure. Because if they use one archer and run low cavalry, they can actually damage FRZ more than FRZ can damage this defense. Because FRZ solo stats, although very high, they cannot compare to a full march with mostly infantry. So keep your archer number low continuously replenish your archer, and unless FRZ starts sending 2 armies out to hit simultaneously, he will suffer much more losses than you will, than the defenders will. So server 10 has taken control of the right tower, and server 75 right now only has the north tower. Let's take a look at the Breath of Light. We can see that this breath is not occupied by anyone, which is good. So as I was talking about earlier, this is very important. And the member that is primarily taking care of this tower has left, fortunately, because I think he was doing a very poor job. And server 10, although it's not necessary to put like a big well next to this tower, they should at least keep an eye on it, because server 10 is definitely keeping an eye on that tower. Do they have the attack interval tower? They do, which is good. However, because they only have 1 tower, it is not really that effective. So let's take a look at the difference in having the attack interval tower compared to not having it. So I think the default time for the recharge is 3 minutes. And let's take a look at this defense. We can see because there's nobody around, there's nobody to reinforce this tower. And Car can get a lot of free hits if they do not speed up. So let's see if there are any archers left. There doesn't appear to be. So the next hit from Car, if they do not replenish, is going to be very powerful. And if I were FRZ, I would be hitting this tower right now, because it is free damage, basically. Psycho is hitting, so this is the correct move. And this will do quite a bit more damage than Car. So Car is starting to rally. I don't think that is the correct move. If they have a lot of speed ups to use, they should just solo hit. Simply because server 75 is not replenishing this tower. So let's compare the previous report to the current report. So we can see that they lost about 20 to 25, 10 to 15% of the defending troops in there. So I think although Car and Psycho might not be strong enough to really make an impact, like a big dent, even without the archer, I think General and FRZ definitely can. So they have started a rally, and I think the strategy will be the same. So one person will do a solo hit and kill the archers, and if they don't reinforce in time, the rally will destroy the remaining troops. So after this rally launches, they will likely have all 4 towers, and server 75 will really need to think of a new strategy if they want to come out victorious, because right now they have a lot of members but with nothing to show for it. And we can really see the difference in the positioning between server 10 and server 75. FRZ and General are pressuring the south tower. Palm is over here at the east tower, right side tower. Car is handling the north tower, and Cycle is handling the left tower. And the Breath of Light is currently dominated by server 75. But I'm curious whether, like, how much of an impact that will make, because before a rally launches, server 10, what they can do is they can launch fast marches to quickly take back the tower. And in these towers, it doesn't matter how long you have control of them. As long as the enemy takes over the tower before their attack launches, then the stats will count towards their rally attack. So it's not really effective to just simply hold on to this tower without doing anything else. But we'll see how the dynamics changes as this battle continues. and maybe one side tires out more quickly than the other side. I sure hope I don't tire out more quickly than they do, because I expect this fight to go on for a very long time, much longer than the server 10 versus server 71 fight, which happened a few months ago. I think server 10 has met a few big opponents before. Their first big opponent, I should say, was server 40. And server 40 kind of lost due to the Titanos stack. So the Titanos stack was very effective in Season 5, where the archers did not really have any self-protection towards Windstrider Titanos. And because server 10 controlled many more Windstriders than server 40, to be honest, server 40 didn't really use the Windstriders very well. They decided to primarily use Odin instead of Windstrider, and that is really what brought about their loss. And that was probably the closest fight that server 10 had until now. Versus server 71, I think server 71 didn't really stand much of a chance. So server 10 didn't really have that much of a hard time either. So let's see how server 75 performs compared to server 40 back when it was at its peak. In other words, let's see how much server 75 can really pressure server 10. Now, server 10 did get a big boost in player power when Psycho and Car migrated to their server. These two are, of course, very active top players. And so they will have a very big impact over the course of this battle. But mostly, I just want to see what strategies or what new strategies server 75 decides to use. So now they have control once again of 2 towers. But if these towers do not attack, then they cannot really deal much long-term damage to server 10. Let's do a quick scouting. That is not what I wanted to see. So Car is currently marching towards this top tower, and server 75 really needs to come up with a game plan, because they cannot simply run away from every single rally. Because server 10 is in control of this mountain, and they are on a time limit for how long they can just sustain their current passive strategy. And maybe they are waiting on a couple players, because I cannot find one of their G10s, one of the important G10s for some reason. But at the very least, server 75 is controlling this tower, so server 10 will not be able to capture this as quickly. And I think one thing that server 75 might be waiting for is for these Breath of Lights buffs to increase. So I think one of their strategies may be to ramp up their pressure in a couple hours from now, once the Holy Light buffs are at their maximum, because that is really when they can use their numbers advantage to take control of those Holy Light towers and gain the stats that they need to counteract server 10. However, from what I've seen so far, I'm rather not impressed. Because FRZ, I know I've been commenting on how he's been using the weaker Season 6 team to attack these towers. I think what he should have done, because server 75 is not really rallying the middle, he should take his main march out from the middle and use the full Season 6 team in the middle and use the main march, the strongest march, to do these solo attacks. It would have been much more effective as a strategy. So right now, we can see that they are kind of just playing around, trading back and forth. And this is really what server 10 kind of wants. Because they have control of the middle, they're able to passively gain points without receiving any kind of damage from server 75. or I should say from the towers themselves. And so right now, server 10 has the strong advantage. They are taking the lead in this initial phase of this clash. If we quickly take a look at the scores, we can see that FRZ score grew by a huge chunk. And this is attributed simply to his continuous solo attacks. Let's see if I can find a player that I'm looking for. He should be here somewhere. Is it Juggernaut? I think it is Juggernaut. Yeah. Yeah, I think it is Juggernaut, but he's using a different profile picture. I'm looking for the Tiger profile picture, but I can't seem to find it. Oh well. So King Leonidas is rallying this tower once again. But I think if they cannot hold it, then the rally is not really not being of much use. So let's see what kind of defense is in this tower. So we have the proper Season 6 defense. I mean Season 5 using Season 6 armor defense. We have no defensive support skills. So this is not the ideal defense. But server 10 might try a similar strategy to send a solo march to wipe out the archer and then have the rally hit. And if they do that, what I'm curious is whether server 10 will be able to effectively replenish the archer before the rally is able to hit. So Palm is solo attacking this tower. Let's take a look at what's in there. So there is a full defense here in terms of rally support. We have Horus here. He is a very good rally supporter in Season 6 for the infantry because his skill 2 allows the infantry to take less damage when an ultimate skill is used. So he's good, but not super special. I would say super special, like super strong Season 6 rally support skills or defense support skills will be like Morgan's skills 3. Morgan's skills 3 will decrease the interval between ultimate skills, and that is very useful in Season 6 combat. Another useful skill could be Kellerman, simply because his skill 2 is able to bring even more disarm, and as everyone knows, normal attacks are fairly strong in Season 6 clashes. So we'll be watching this rally. One thing I'm not quite sure of is why server 75 is not, I think they are launching a double rally. Okay, so this is in fact a double rally. And as server 10 has shown, a solo attack, a strong solo attack plus a rally might be just as effective as a double rally. So I'm curious whether server 75 would use a similar strategy to that down the road. But first of all, let's take a look at how this double rally performs. And what I want to see out of a double rally is how closely they hit. Whether, like, do they hit within 1 second of each other? Or do they hit, or is the gap between the two rallies bigger than that? And it is very important to time those, because if you don't time it correctly and an enemy replenishes with an archer, then your second rally will either completely fail to destroy the enemy's defense, or it will suffer much more damage than you could have. You will take much more damage than you could have otherwise, had they not replenished with the archer. Because without the archer, the infantry is just very useless. So if this is the rally, one thing that I don't really agree on is using full season 16 as the rally leader. Because if there is no Kellerman component to this rally, well, first of all, you don't have Kellerman's passive disarm. And second of all, it's just weak because you don't have Quinn's skill, you don't have Lisbeth's skill. And season 6 hero skills, the awakening skills, they don't really do anything. So this rally is for sure not going to punch through. So what I'm hoping right now is that King Azod used the proper rally leaders for his rally. Although if the rallies hit really close to each other, it will not matter that much. So let's see whether server 10 is able to replenish in time between these two rallies. So King Azod has launched. We can see that Leonidas is quite a bit behind King Azod. So he should, I'm not too sure whether they can see the timers on their rallies, but King Leonidas might need to speed up. So let's do a scouting. So General has come. So King Leonidas appeared to have sped up. And let's really see how close these two rallies hit. So 1, 2, so about 2.5 seconds. That is really not bad. But was able to work. Interestingly, it did not actually work. And some reports would really help understand why it didn't work. For example, someone might have replenished with an archer, or King Leonidas is completely garbage. Rally leading team was simply too weak. Because this defense is still fairly strong. It's still holding up fairly well. So they do have a Kellerman support here. And Kellerman, I think, is the most important support because the disarm is just so powerful. But without seeing their reports, it's really impossible to understand or to get a sense of whether server 10 was able to replenish the archer in time. Unless, of course, I scout within that 2.5 second interval. And without being able to see the timers under each of these marches, which is really strange because I remember when I first started playing this game, there would be timers under every single march, regardless of whether it's yours or your enemies. But nowadays, you can only see the timings of your own marches. And that is just overall very strange. A very strange change that they decided to make. Because if you think about real combat, you would have some degree of intelligence how quickly your enemy is marching. So server 10 was able to resist a double rally from server 75. And this is, of course, not good for server 75. So let's take a look at what their next plan is. Is this a full defense? It is not. So server 10 has this once again. I think server 75 should take it away from server 10. But right now, server 75 isn't really putting up much of a fight, which comes a bit of a surprise to me, because I think there is just much more potential, not only within server 75, but also within the space of season 6 combat. Because as long as you can kill the archer, it's really not hard to kill the remaining defenders. So the top players from server 10 are still looking relatively well. None of them have really lost too much power. And I think the overall dynamics has kind of slowed down at this point for some reason. Let's see if there's any rallies being cooked. I don't really see any. So let's take a look at the numbers for server 10. We have, let's just go in a clockwise circle. We have general FRZ, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. So I see 30 so far. Let's see if there are any players at the Breath of Lights. Like, this is quite ironic. We have 3 players here, and they're incapable of kicking out one of server 10's players. And I don't really think moves like this are the correct move, because some players from server 10 can afford it, but if you're just a regular player, unless you're like a farmer that, you don't care about your gems at all, then these speed ups, they can just run away and then put their army right back, and you would have accomplished absolutely nothing. So I think there's only like 40 players from server 10 maximum that are here. Yeah, so about 40 players. And on the other side, I don't think this is a rally, so we will keep counting. On the other side, server 75, they have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 19, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. They only have 29 players here for whatever reason. They actually have fewer players in the immediate vicinity of the Holy Mountain compared to server 10. And that kind of surprises me, to be honest. Okay, so let's see how many players are scattered around the breath. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, there's a lot of people here. 10, 11, 12. I like how the absolute most important tower has nobody next to it. And 13. So the numbers from server 75 is actually very surprising to me. I know not everyone can be on at the very same time, but this is something that server 10 is very good for. All their members can be on at the same time, And that makes them very powerful, at least at the start of this clash. Now, of course, this clash will still last a very long time. There are at least, I would say, 4 hours left, even if server 10 keeps constant control of this Breath of Light. I'm not too sure what happened here. Are they running away from something? Really, a rally from Cycle. I don't think they should run away from that. And the reason why I say they shouldn't run away is because if you put a proper defense here, first of all, you're close enough to replenish properly. And second of all, it's not like it's a rally from FRZ. So the stats will not be that high. Like your stats will probably be higher than his. And you'll be able to deal quite a decent amount of damage to 197. Like you can run away, you can retreat after the rally has hit, or you can replenish after the rally has hit so that FRZ cannot just immediately get in solo hits. So yeah, I don't think it's the right move to just retreat from this tower, because let's say Psycho takes this tower with a full defense. Are you going to start solo attacking like FRZ did? If you do, then well, it's very difficult because first of all, you're not FRZ. And second of all, Palm is here to replenish. And Sephir too. I'm not too sure whether Sephir knows how to replenish, but they have players in close vicinity so that they can properly replenish without having to use too many speed ups. So yeah, like even as this battle is just getting started, one thing I don't quite understand, because there are no castle. I mean, there is a no castle hit agreement. So I don't quite understand why server 75 is so clustered here. Like although they are so clustered, they literally have 3 players adjacent to any tower. They have Sandy, Leonidas, and Juggernaut. And everyone else is at least 1 castle block away from the tower. So Psycho canceled his rally. He didn't even need to see, like he didn't even see a need to take this tower, because as long as it's unoccupied, as long as they can keep server 75 away for as long as they can prevent server 75 from holding on to these towers for more than 3 minutes, then they really suffer no damage. While, of course, the point is continuously going up. So I think overall, strategy-wise, server 10 has a very big lead. The only downside, I would say, poor play that they made was from FRZ using a relatively weak team to do those solo attacks. I think if FRZ had used the Kellerman, Quinn, and Lisbeth, or maybe even Kellerman, Quinn, and Hanzo, with S6 Arma, then so far server 10's play would have been pretty perfect. So once these towers are available once again to capture, let's see how the move starts changing. Because of course, between each hour, there's about a 5-minute period where the towers are not able to be captured. And so in that period, you kind of lose all your buffs. And it is not a bad move to just stop fighting within that time period. Of course, after that time period, you'll have to restart again. And so first order of priority is to make sure that server 10 is not in control of this tower. And besides that, control, or I should say keep control of these other towers. So let's take a look at the center, because I've actually never scouted the center. Yeah, so we can see FRC's main team is in the center. I think if they start double rallying, you could always switch out your teams. So I think it is really kind of a waste to put your main team in the center. And they have a full set of troops. Actually, a lot of troops. So if we take a quick count, 20,000, 30,000, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, almost 2 million, if not 2 million troops in the Holy Mountain. So we can see that each tower, they deal, what is it? 1.5% damage. 1.5% of the defenders will receive critical injuries. So 1.5 of 2 million, that's like, what, 300,000 troops? I mean 30,000 troops. So each hit from the tower will deal 30,000 damage to your opponent, which is quite good. But if they are not able to control the towers long enough, then they will not be able to deal much long-term damage to server 10. Do they have control of this tower? Yes, they do. So once again, let's take a look at the Breath of Lights that are being captured right now. Maybe we'll take a look at that a little bit later once the rallies start launching. So they are rallying the center, which it's hard to say whether that's a good move or a bad move, because the intention of rallying the center really is really kind of to do damage, to injure server 10, because you cannot really hold the center in this current position. Server 10 is really dominant in capturing not only towers. So let's see if there's a real defense in here, because server 10 has shown that they are fairly dominant in capturing the towers. And so if you try to control the center, you kind of become like kind of a dummy for server 10 to just shred you with towers. So let's see what their plan is. My guess is that they plan to kick out server 10 and then go back to taking the towers. So as long as I have sufficient activity, like I expect to have sufficient activity within like after the next 2 hours or so, I will just maybe try to slow down server 10's point gain in the center while waiting for these towers to charge to their maximum. And that is the strategy that server 75 might be betting on. In other words, to kind of lay low for now and then really ramp up their attack after maybe 2 hours from now. I think overall that is a fairly good strategy for server 75 because they have the numbers advantage. However, the plays that they did make were not exactly good. So I don't quite understand what server 75's plan is right now. So one thing that they could do is, I should say they could try to do, is just continuously double rally. And if you can time them correctly, or even triple rally, like have your top players launch these rallies. Like I think General just reinforced, so King Leonidas and King Azal really need to get the timing correct. So King Leonidas hit already 5 seconds. I don't think King Azad really hit in time. Like the timing for their rallies is just very weak. Let's take a look at the defense. Like if they want to push out the rally, they really need to hit simultaneously and not provide server 10 an over 5 second gap. Like that, the timing between Leonidas and Azad was 8 seconds, I think. And that is way too big of a gap you can provide to your enemies. And the rally launched by by QXQ was just was just completely useless because he hit way too early. So one thing that I can't quite understand from server 75 is their hesitation to kind of use speedups, because one interesting part about good communication is that you can catch your opponents off guard. It doesn't take that many gems to simultaneously speed up all 3 rallies and take server 10 by surprise. Have all 3 rallies just spam the speed up and have them hit within 0.3 seconds of each other. I mean 0.5 seconds of each other. And I think that is the play that they should be trying, rather than just have these rallies like slow marching towards the center, because that doesn't appear to be working. Or if you are about to do that, time it better. Like if you cannot time it, then the best approach is to communicate it. Maybe like have some kind of voice chat. Because they just lost 3 rallies, which is a lot of injuries, against 1 rally from server 10. So versus 2 million troops, they lost from 6 million troops, while server 10 lost from 2 million troops. So that was once again a very, very good trade for server 10. So it appears that they will try to rally once again. I see Leonidas and Azad. So QXQ is not rallying this time. So let's see if this time they can time their rallies more appropriately. And I still think that versus a powerful server such as server 10, it is important to be in voice chat, because if you are in voice chat, you can time the speed ups much better than saying like doing a countdown 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, boom. Yeah, just take a look at when a gap is present in the reinforcers and speed up within that gap. I think that is what server 75 needs to do. Either that or time your rallies better. Like have them hit within 1 second of each other maximum. Like if it's over 1 second, then it is already too long. So let's see what kind of defense is in here. I'm just curious why 75 is kind of so adverse to using speed ups. It's a little strange. So he lost to a full season 6 team. Lost quite badly, actually. Let's check out the composition. This composition is pretty good. And I guess he should hit again. And yeah, speed up a bit. All right, so hit again. Hello? Like Palm isn't even reinforcing, so this is a dealing free damage to FRZ, so like, why not? I kind of wish they posted some reports so I can take a look at how these clashes are turning out and why sometimes the defense could not be broken. So FRZ is headed back now, probably to replenish whatever is left in this tower. So now we are just waiting for these two rallies to launch. And if server 75 cannot get the timing of these double rallies correctly, or triple rallies, then they will lose very quickly, I think. And I'm also interested to see if server 75 does manage to take the center, how server 10 will react. Will FRZ start launching those solo attacks once again? Or will they rally in a similar fashion? Or will they do a one rally and a solo attack? Because that apparently works too. So Crypto Shrimp, I'm not sure if I saw him earlier, but he is here now. So he will be a big help to server 75. And one thing that slightly concerns me is that Leonidas is rallying with, once again, his weak Season 6 team. If nobody is supporting him with a Kellerman, then this rally will not be able to deal as much damage as it could. Nearly as much damage as it could. So we can see FRZ is back at full power once again. He has a lot of healing speed ups. So the rally has launched. Let's see how long it takes for my scout to get there. 9 seconds. I'm going to try to time it so that the scout hits. Like if they... Okay, never mind. So this rally will get cancelled as well. I'm not quite sure why the rally got cancelled. Maybe they realized that 2 Season 6 rally leaders just doesn't work. They should use better rally leaders. Okay, so this got cancelled. Maybe they want Crypto Shrimp to join or Crypto Shrimp to rally as well. So I can see that Crypto Shrimp might be rallying 2 towers here. And I think a whale should really never double rally because you are guaranteed to only use your strong team in one of the 2 rallies and a weak team in the other. So if I was server 10, I would have either Psycho or Car defend the tower against the weak rally. Or I mean, also defend against the strong rally. It doesn't matter because the defense is just so strong. As long as you have some archers, the infantry is almost like immortal. So Car can put Kellerman, his Kellerman in this tower. Psycho can put Kellerman, his Kellerman in this tower. And both towers will hold. Unless they pull some special tricks like what FRZ does, making a solo attack. Launching a solo attack to kill off the archers. So here we have Leonidas. So both Leonidas and Crypto Shrimp are rallying the North Tower. Azod is also rallying the North Tower, I think. So this is actually a triple rally against the North Tower. Quite surprising. I would have considered maybe a triple rally on the center just to kick them out. Or see how server 10 reacts to server 75 controlling the center. But focusing on the towers is once again not a bad strategy. So let's take a look at the Breath of Lights. The Breath of Lights control is very poor from server 75. So server 75 has, I don't know what teams server 75 has in these Breath of Lights towers that is making them so hard for, so hard for server 75 to take control of. I think they may be running the full Season 6 teams in those towers. So full season 6 and full season 6. And so this is a very bad composition. I would easily be able to kick this composition out, even if I was significantly weaker than Carr. Run 2 teams. So one team, heavy cavalry to kill the archer, and the second team, just mostly infantry. You will not even suffer that much damage. You just kill their infantry. General, well, general is almost gone, so yeah. But the main focus now is on these 3 rallies. And because first of all, let's check out what defense server 10 is using in this tower. Is General going to be the primary defender? Actually, he is. So he is going to be the primary defender of the North Tower. And yeah, so they will be contesting against General here. I don't think this amount of archers is ideal. So I think a well-timed double rally can easily push out whatever is in this tower, because I think these rallies are about to launch, and I'm not too sure if there's enough defenders in here. Well, I'm not sure whether server 10 will be able to get enough defenders in this tower before these rallies launch. Let's take a look at what is in here. So Crypto Shrimp's rally has launched towards the left tower, which is currently uncontested. And I think Psycho is also currently rallying this tower, so he will be defending against Psycho's attack. And because this is the strong hero, I think he might be able to defend against Psycho's attack, even though Psycho is much stronger than him, although I'll have to take a look at the defensive setup. So the triple rallies have launched, and I think there's not much server 10 needs to do in this tower, because 3 rallies against a fairly empty tower is a bit excessive. So they have actually started filling this tower, and I think server 75 should just speed up. Should just coordinate the speed up against this tower, I should say. Yeah, it is just strange to me that server 75, I really haven't seen them use much speed ups at all. Like if King Leonidas and King Azot sped up right now, they could immediately break this defense. Or maybe they are waiting for server 10 to add more fodder in this tower so that they can wound more troops. But first, let's take a look at this. So Psycho is defending with Psycho is reinforcing this tower. So let's scout this tower first. And then let's take a look at what happens here. So I'll be very disappointed if they don't speed up, because Crypto Shrimp, otherwise you're completely wasting Crypto Shrimp's attack. And we can even scout here. Let's see if Crypto Shrimp is able to kill off the archers. Okay, the attack has hit. Now we scout. So server 10 is not really replenishing this tower much either. I'm not too sure if they have replenished the archer at all. So if King Leonidas hits right now, he could still be able to deal a decent amount of damage. Like, this is just so much room to... Okay, Carr. Okay, so the archer has replenished now. General is here. Like, I really don't know what server 75 is doing. This is definitely not going to break. So let's scout again. And now, Azot, can he hit in time? So Psycho has reinforced. The archer has been reinforced again. Maybe. We'll take a look at whether Cycle successfully reinforced the archers. And this was defended. So I don't quite understand what these moves from server 75 is. They do not speed up their rallies. They don't really coordinate their rallies. And as a result, they gave server 10 so much time to replenish the defense. So let's take a look. So this was after the first rally hit, I believe. Let's see if the rally was capable of wiping out all the archers. It indeed was. So even with rather ineffective full season 6 hero team, they were able to completely wipe out the archers. Now, if the second rally hit right away, server 10 would only be able to rely on a minuscule number of cavalry troops to deal damage against server 75's rally. But because they were able to reinforce with archers, were they able to reinforce with archers? Well, certainly not in this defense. Oh, here. I was about to be surprised because without archers, I was expecting server 10 to take much more damage. So Cycle actually did not reinforce correctly. He just threw back whatever default troop recommendations the game gave him. So he was actually unable to replenish the archers because his march was already full by the time it came to the cavalry. So this is not the proper way to reinforce. But server 75, but this player really saved this defense because he reinforced with the archers, and the archers allowed the massive number of infantry. So you can see General also replenished incorrectly, I should say. He replenished with a typical setup, because if we take a look at the previous setup here, he had 127,000 infantry and 48,000 cavalry. If you just replenish with a typical 1-to-1-to-1 setup, then what will happen is that your infantry will get filled first, and then the cavalry, and then the archer. And so his troop limit was hit before he could replenish the archer. So at the end of the day, it was this player who did a great job at reinforcing this defense, providing the archers for the infantry. And if we take a look at the final fight, we can see that because they were able to replenish the archer, server 10 took very minuscule damage. And if we look at the defense itself, we have 0 supporting heroes, 0 supporting hero skill. So the defense itself wasn't actually all that strong. So server 75 really needs to get their game together and really kind of work out how they want to set up their rallies, how they want to coordinate their rallies, and kind of figure out why they are so adverse to using march speedups, because this is not State of Survival. In State of Survival, you cannot speed up your rallies, your mega rallies, or however rallies work in State of Survival. But in this game, it's not an issue. Just speed up your rallies, coordinate them, and hit at the exact same time, so that even with proper support, like if, for example, Ninja was here, he would be able to support, he would be able to replenish the archer without any issue, given how much time server 75 gave server 10. A lot of players would be able to replenish the archer without issue. So the time gap between those rally hits really did not help server 75's cause. So let's see what Leonidas was hitting into. So this is just a waste of troops from Leonidas. I'm not too sure why he decided to hit into that. Yeah, he was not even able to kill the archers. Is Leonidas solo attacking that again? It's kind of a waste of time, I think. Because when you are doing a solo attack, I'm not saying a solo attack is necessarily wrong, but you have to have a backup hit. So you have to have like an incoming rally, and the goal of your solo attack is to wipe out the archers. If that is not, like without an incoming rally, then what is the goal of your solo attacks? Because you are not really wearing down these troops. You are just wearing down yourself. So if we take a look at the towers, server 10 has control of a majority of the towers. And I might have missed Psycho's rally actually. Is he rallying again? Or is this his rally? So this might be his rally. Is this person running away? Like Psycho's rally really cannot be that strong. Let's see what the result of this is. Oh, never mind. It was not a defense. Yeah, it was not a defense. So as I mentioned earlier, I do think that server 75 should spread out a little bit more, kind of like what server 10 is doing. I think they have more than enough strong players to spread out. And even if you're spread out, it's not really that hard to coordinate these multiple rallies so that they hit relatively at the same time. So after 1.5 hours, I think server 10, not only did they have a good initial lead, they have also extended their lead by quite a big margin by showing that even though their reinforcements were relatively rough, I don't think they replenished very well because they ended up replenishing their infantry instead of replenishing the archer. They did get a little lucky with that one player replenishing the archer, but it was mostly attributed by misplays from server 75 in terms of how they coordinated their rallies and whatever this is. Like these pointless solo hits, they just end up dealing damage to yourself. But I don't think this is the end of server 75. I think they will continue on unless there is something being discussed in world chat. Okay, they were still discussing that erroneous attack, that accidental hit from FRZ against Azad. That was once again pretty unfortunate because, yeah, it is just very unfortunate to have to deal with maybe over 600,000 troops in your Valor, most of them probably infantry. And these troops are troops that you could have otherwise put into the Valor strategy or just use them in general, because if you start throwing troops into the Valor, you might end up running out of infantry, and that makes your overall march a little bit weaker. So I am going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to take a small break here. I will see everyone back in about 10 minutes. Hello, we're back. It's been about 5 minutes, and it appears that King Leonidas is once again starting to rally the North Tower. And I think 75 really needs to start thinking of a proper game plan. They have control of a majority of the Breath of Lights, so now their stats should be significantly improved compared to before. And this is necessary for server 75 to kind of overcome the difference stat-wise between them and server 10's top 2 players. However, I think the first order of priority for them to figure out is how to time their rallies better, because they have not been doing a good job at that. and server 10 has been taking maximum advantage, or at least trying to take maximum advantage of their lackluster, of server 75 lackluster rally coordination abilities. So now Leonidas is rallying the north tower, and nothing much else is going on. Like, server 10 is just happy to leave things as is. They don't need to really defend these towers. If server 10 captures this tower, let's take a look at how, if server 75 captures the north tower, let's take a look at how server 10 deals with it. Because even if it's a rally from FRZ or General, considering that it's not going to be the top Season 6 team, the rally itself might not be able to punch through the defense. So let's see what plan they have in mind to kick out Leonidas' rally. So the rally is entering now. And so what is server 10 going to do? To be honest, I don't think they need to do anything because one tower itself is not going to have much significant impact on the number of troops in the Holy Mountain. So there is some defense in this tower, but it's not particularly strong. Are they just waiting around? Maybe waiting for... No, Breath of Light still look fine. Is the recharge coming up soon? It's still 11 minutes. So they have plenty of time to launch more rallies. I think there's only like one person in here. Oh, quite a few people actually. So they have settled down in the north tower and in the west tower. The rally supports for this are nothing. I think it's very easy to support with Kellerman, so I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity to not be doing so. So now they will assault the middle with 2 castles. That's better than 1, of course, but it is not 3 castles. It is not 3 towers. So General has left the middle. So let's see what he decides to do. He will probably rally either the left tower or the north tower. And it will be interesting to see if there are no preemptive attacks that kicks out the archers, whether a single rally from General can kick out the march itself. So as we saw earlier, this defense is running the main hero team, the good Season 6 hero team. So let's take a look at what is in here. Okay, so it's... what am I looking at? Does General realize he can just solo attack and completely crush this? So this, I don't know what's going on here, but he is running not Season 6, not Season 5 using Season 6 Arma. Instead, he is running a very, very weak team. And there's nothing to replace that team, which is really, really bad. I wonder, like, Server 75 cannot not realize that their Norse defense is very, very weak right now. If FRZ was still awake, I think he would just solo attack this and kick out everyone in one hit. Because you cannot really defend against Season 6 using a Season 5 team, especially if your opponent is very strong stat-wise. So thankfully, General is not solo attacking. So this is actually a small misplay from server 10, I think. If I were them, I would have just solo attacked. Like even with my own weak account, I would have solo attacked this and dealt a lot of damage. Let's see if they were able to correct this composition in the meantime when I was not looking. Because if they don't correct this composition, I'm sure they realize it by now. They need to correct this composition. I'm sure one of them realized by now. Like maybe not the rally leader, but any one of them. Like this is such a bad composition for Season 6. And even the troop setup is not correct. This is a very bad troop composition as well. Yeah, so now the support skills matter a little bit, but unless you're like supporting with the archer skills 3, your team is just overall very weak. And nobody is supporting with the archer skills 3, so this team is just dead. Like I would not even double rally this, like that might scare them away. I would just solo attack and kick them out in one tap. And that might lower their morale to the point that they no longer see the ability to go on. So now he is rallying the east tower. And yeah, let's see. We'll keep an eye on this as well. But I think right now they should address the north tower because it's just so weak. And server 10, thankfully, has not really taken advantage of it. I think they should just run right now. Either because they have so many good players. One of them should just go in and replace the defense with the ideal defense. But are they just simply not paying attention? Because even if the plan is to run away, you cannot simply just keep such a weak defense around. So King Azot, I hope he is going in with a proper defense. He might have realized it. Like even if your plan is to run away, you cannot run away in time if what they decide to do is a quick solo attack rather than a rally. Of course, even if it's a rally, you gotta run before the rally launches. Because after the rally launches, they will speed up and hit you in like a second. So King Azot is taking his sweet time, as usual. Now let's scout whatever is in this tower. I think this tower is probably full by now. So, okay, so they did run away, which is good. So this is actually a missed opportunity from server 10. They could have easily solo attacked and yeah, crushed this defense in one solo attack. So now eyes are on this tower. Is Psycho rallying anything? No, he is not. So we will just pay attention to this tower. And I think I just scouted it a moment ago. So it is still an FRZ defense. And any other notable people? There is Psycho in here. But nobody else of note. But once again, this is not strong enough to break the defense, so they need to somehow kill the archers, like send in a 90%, well maybe not 90%, like a 70% cavalry team. So one archer, 30% infantry, and 69% cavalry, and hope that it's enough to kill the archer. And do that right before the rally hits. Which is kind of what FRZ did earlier at the start of the fight, whether that was intentional or not. So let's take a look once again. It's interesting how server 10 is switching out their defense. I'm scouting Leonidas again. God damn it. So we have, it's hard to say whether Psycho will defend or FRZ will defend, but in terms of support skills, there's actually Kellerman. So they do have Kellerman, so this is not that weak of a defense. So even if FRZ was defending, he would be able to take advantage of Kellerman's skill 2, which does, I believe, a 6-second disarm after every ultimate. Now, unfortunately, Season 6 heroes do not use their ultimates as frequently, but it's still a very powerful support skill. So Leonidas did cancel the rally. And this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier. Server 10 is kind of just stalling for time right now. And they're just happy once again to do it, as long as Server 75 lets them do it. So now we are at the 2-hour mark, I believe. And so the towers will once again gain even more stats. Looking at these towers right now, they will have 2 stars momentarily. So I believe the buffs should go to 40, either 40% or 45%. Let's take a look at the scores once again. FRZ is at the top and followed by Psycho. King Leonidas is rank 5 and General is actually near the bottom of the top 10 rankings. So he has not been as active, and I am actually quite surprised by Palm's score. I would not expect him to be as active as some of the other top players in server 10. So tower wise, server 75 is occasionally able to deal some damage against server 10's Holy Mountain. However, it's simply just not enough, or I should say not quickly enough. Interestingly, they have captured the south tower, the bottom tower. Let's see how much of a defense is in here. Just one, so not very impactful. Although it'll be interesting if server 10 lets this countdown finish, because they will be taking 30,000 damage for free. So they have started rallying this tower once again, but it is still just a single rally, so I don't think it's going to accomplish much unless they are able to kick out the archers with some kind of solo attack. Yeah, considering the size of server 75, I'm quite surprised at the lack of players settled down here surrounding the Holy Mountain. I was kind of expecting the entire area to be filled with players from server 75. Here's a new player coming in. What happened here? I'm not quite sure. Did they manage to kick server 75 out? Let's take a look. So if they did kick server 75 out, what I'm interested in is what the amount of damage server 75 was able to deal to server 10's rally attack. Oh, no garrison. So I'm not too sure what happened. So we might be arriving to another low phase in the fight because the towers are once again on cooldown. After 5 minutes, they will be at 2 stars, which will improve the buffs that server 75 can gain from those towers. However, once again, this rather passive plan and fairly poor coordination is so far not working for server 75. So I kind of look forward to how they decide to change their strategy in the upcoming clash. So we will take another quick break here, and I will be back in about 5 minutes. So what is their plan now? Breath of Lights, as we can see, the stats did increase to 40%. So this increases from 30% to 40% and then finally to 50%. As for the attack intervals for the towers, we have now 30%. So this should increase to 40% later. And so this will boost the stats of Server 75 by a little bit. However, this is not really reliable in changing the tide of this current battle. Not only does Server 10 have such a big lead, but they are also able to maintain the lead unless Server 75 can get their game together. Because if you cannot even control the tower that is closest to you, then there is really not much hope in maintaining control of a tower that's sitting right next to Server 10's strongest players. Like if I were Server 75, I will probably try to double rally this tower and then see if I'm capable of holding a single rally from them. Because unless it's FRZ, I do think with proper rally support that they can hold an attack from General. And this is done by, well, first of all, having proper rally supports, and second of all, having proper troop compositions. So a majority infantry, some cavalry, and then very few archers. Maybe say 70%, 25%, and 5%. And then once they do rally or do a solo attack, immediately replenish at least one archer. And so that is how to properly defend from uncoordinated rallies. So right now, one can say that Server 10 has complete control of the Holy Mountain area. None of the towers are currently controlled by Game. This tower has been captured, but is just defended by a solo player. They can kick him out anytime. And so I'm just kind of wondering what their next move is. And I'm also checking out how few archers are left in this defense. Very few archers actually, so one of their members can simply send a solo attack. So basically do like a double rally, and then before the double rally hits, one member can send a strong solo attack consisting of primarily cavalry to kill the archers, and then both rallies will hit against a zero archer defense. And I think overall that would be very effective. But yeah, I think right now it might be safe to call server 10 as the strongest server in the game currently. They have never lost a Holy Mountain battle. I think the only battle that they ever lost was against server 5 with the addition of Nephisto back during the competition for the center, and that was a 1-versus-1 fight. Of course, they lost quite a few times in the battle disorder because really individual power did not account for much in that game mode. However, in game modes outside of the battle disorder, especially in SvS, they have never lost SvS, and they have also never lost a 1v1 fight for the center in Battle of Conquest or Battle of Chosen, whatever it's called. At least I don't think they have. So now they are rallying the right tower again, but this is once again a single rally. So I'm expecting at the very minimum an attack, like a solo attack to kill the archer before the rally hits. If they do not do that, then there's no chance that their rally will be able to break through the defense, and server 10 can just reinforce once again and lose very little. So this rally should be launching soon. Let's take one last look at the defenders in this. Oh my god. Let's take one last look at the defenders in this tower. And it does not really seem to have changed. They do have Kellerman defense, so this will help a lot with the team that FRZ is using. But what is really their plan for this single rally? Because the rally is not going to break through, and they're going to end up taking more losses than server 10 is. So this single rally is really not efficient if they do not have something else that comes with it. Like, there's barely any archers in here. It's going to be a very, very effective defense. Like, server 10 is barely going to lose anything in this rally. Okay, so the rally is cancelled. And where has he moved to? I am confused. Okay, I guess we watched the bottom rally. The rally has launched. If it's still just general, then this defense is not going to hold. Yeah, still just general. I would be really surprised if this defense holds. And he's also not speeding up, which is equally surprising. I mean, if we're just going to stop here, then 75 wouldn't have put up much more of a fight than 71 did. Yeah, that was expected. Just out of curiosity, let's check the remaining numbers. Yeah, no archers left. I'm actually wondering whether General is gonna hit back once again, like right away. That would be what I would do if I was General. Because there's no archers in here, just hit back, do a lot of damage, and yeah, give them a bunch of depression. Like Azod, he's not replenishing this. He's rallying this tower instead. Let's see if there's anything here. Yeah, quite a strong defense. So one rally is not going to break it unless they're able to do some trick with the killing the archers. I really hope that's what they do, because otherwise this is kind of a pointless rally. Right? Like coordination is so important if you want to hit at the same time. So this was cancelled. Is General gonna solo this? I mean, these people have lost barely any power. So this fight, really, if 75 was committed to it, it hasn't even gotten started. Oh, he is joining Juggernaut on the other side. But is this a double rally? Is my question. Because if it is not a double rally, then what is the difference between him rallying here and Leonidas's earlier rally from here? Like, what is the difference between his rally and Leonidas's rally? I don't quite understand. So General appears to be solo attacking this, right? Yeah, if he solo attacks this again, I think they are about to have a very bad time. Is General gonna do it though? Yes, he will. So this is, I think, the correct move. You can see how he speeds up. And this is just so important. And Frozen 3 might be doing the heavy lifting here, although they are starting to retreat. So you can see General's next attack would have broken down this defense. And that's why it's kind of senseless to capture the tower that is closest to your opponent's two strongest players. It's much harder to replenish the troops. So this rally is still ongoing, but it's not going to do anything, I think. Like, what I want to see from server 75 is just being more aggressive, being more proactive about solo attacks, like taking advantage of the Season 6 meta, where without the archers, you know that the infantry are much less capable. Breath of Lies are looking good for server 75. However, they really need to control this one. Like, this should be Crypto Shrimp's job or something. Just prevent server 10 from having control of this tower, because they're gaining so many points now. Instead of 1.2 per second, they're getting 1.3 per second now. And soon they'll be getting 1.4 per second in like 2 hours. So now we just watch the outcome of that rally, because there's nothing else really going on right now. So before the rally launches, you can see how they are kind of, or at least Psycho is taking the initiative to take over this tower, so that the rally will have less HP. than it otherwise would have. Though I think the rally kind of launched before his attack was able to land. But overall, I don't think it matters simply because the defense is just too strong. Like Kellerman, you have this hero. I mean, he does something at least. You have more Kellerman. I mean, having multiple Kellerman is in fact not very good because the support skills really don't stack. So let's see the result of this hit. Like one thing I don't really understand, but let's first check out how many archers were in that first defense. Like very low archer count, low archers, decent number of archers, no more low archers, decent amount. But these are weak archers. Like none of these archers are strong. They're glorious 5. Like very, very weak archers. Like if they just sent a strong solo march to wipe out these archers before the main march hit, it would have been an easy win for server 10, server 75 I mean. But instead they decided not to do that and just send a single rally that was no different between Juggernaut or King Leonidas. I mean, Season 6 just doesn't work that way. Now they will rally again, but it's a pointless rally because 5 minutes is more than enough time for server 10 to completely replenish this tower. Like if their goal is to wear down server 10 slowly through this continued rally tactic, then at the very least they should try to trade better. Because these rallies hurt a lot for server 75. I mean, this is just overall very uneventful, I should say. Not as exciting as when server 10 fought server 40. We can see that server 75 didn't even get to touch the Holy Mountain. And I think that's just a result of a little bit of poor play. Like even if they touched it, of course it probably wouldn't have mattered, but it's been a little bit underwhelming for server 75. I did expect a little better coordination out of them. Now, to be frank, server 10 has had much more practice than server 75. They've encountered multiple strong enemies in the past, and I don't know if that's the same can be said for server 75, because this kind of coordination does not work versus strong enemies, and there are much better or more coordinated players than what I've seen from server 10. So their coordination was not ideal either. There's a lot of gaps that could have been taken advantage of. And I think server 75 should have done a better job taking advantage of those gaps. Or at least punish. Like even if at the end of the day server 10 wins the center overall, punish them more for it. Make it hard for them to take the center. And I don't really think server 75 put up a fight against server 10. Yeah, comparing the overall outcome, I think this was relatively similar to when 71 fought 75. I mean 71 fought server 10 when 71 was back at its peak. They were just completely overwhelmed by server 10. They were not very organized, similar to how 75 is right now. And to be honest, it felt like server 71 was a little bit more motivated than server 75 here. Though to be fair, server 75 performed much more poorly compared to server 71 early on. But still, I think at the present, at least for the Holy Mountain battle, server 40 is still the server that put up the biggest fight against server 10. And that is kind of where this awesome skin originated. So this skin belongs to only 2 people, I believe. Doom Knight from server 40. I think he's now in server 71. and general from server 10. So I think this was a very good demonstration of decently good coordination from server 10. They were able to take advantage of parts of the season 6 meta in terms of removing the archers and then hitting it with a rally. It is much more effective, or doing multiple solo attacks, or replenishing with the archer. Although there were many areas that could be improved. For example, when they did the replenishments, a lot of the times they just chose a default setup. Like, for example, I can show you here. If you choose the default setup, enemies, please. If you choose a default setup, your marches will be evenly distributed between infantry, cavalry, and archer. And if the defense already has like a decent quantity of infantry and cavalry left, then you will be filling infantry first and then cavalry. And then by the time you reach the archers, your defense will already be full at max capacity. So what ends up happening is that you would not replenish any of the archers, and you end up with 0 archers, and the incoming rally will hit you very hard. So the way to do it is to have a preset where you just send 1 archer and maybe 1 cavalry. So you save this preset and you send this preset to replenish the troops. So you can have kind of like 2 presets. You have this 1 preset for the archer only, and another preset that focuses on infantry. So you first send this preset and then you send the second preset. And this fully replenishes the whatever defense troops that you have lost. So let's just take a quick look whether this battle is going to continue on. I don't think server 75 is very happy, at least of the fact that they have scored nothing yet in the center Holy Mountain. At the very least, I think they should, before leaving, I think they should try like a triple rally on the center, just to gain some points at the very minimum. So let's see if there's anything going on in the world chat. I don't really see anything. So I think I will take a pause here and come back when there is either a conclusion to this battle or if the action ramps up again. I'll see everyone in a bit. Hello, we're back. It does look like that server 75 is attacking the center once again with a double rally this time from opposite sides. So let's see how well they can get the timing this time around. So when people are launching multiple rallies, the opponent may try to just send multiple forces in general in order to replenish the troops in between the 2 rallies. And I still think the way to counteract that is to just speed up your rallies and catch them off guard so that they never know when your rallies might get sped up. By the time your rally starts speeding up, it's already too late to speed up themselves, because when you're in the speed up menu, you cannot really see when your opponents are speeding up. So King Leonidas rally has launched. We are just waiting on Juggernaut. Oh, Juggernaut's rally is here. So you can see when there's multiple people coming, it's very hard to time it so that even if your rallies are close, they might still squeeze themselves in between your rallies. So for example, if they coordinate a speed up right now, there is absolutely nothing server 10 can do. Like, if they sped up right now, they would be like zoom and hit. Both will hit at the exact same time if they can coordinate that speed up at the same time. But let's see how it goes. Maybe they can still time it so that the interval between, it's a triple rally actually, the interval between the triple rally is so close that it's impossible to replenish the archer in time. So it will be very interesting to take a look at the timing between the rallies. And this might be the first time that the rallies are well timed. So let's see when they stop. That is when they're hitting the mountain. We have, so this was approximately at the same time. Like right away. It's that simple. It's really that simple. You just have to hit at the same time while the opponent's archer is gone. And you will be able to take it with ease. Like the main defender in that rally was FRZ. This is server 10's strongest player. And you can see how the second rally, it had no issues kicking out FRZ. That is simply the power of a double rally. Now FRZ is coming in, and this is really when you need to kind of reinforce with the archer. So FRZ needs to cover a fairly long distance. General is coming in as well. If you do not replenish the archer, they will be able to deal a huge amount of damage to the remaining troops without losing much themselves. So to maximize the damage that they take while minimize your own damage, you need to replenish the archer. And that is something they're not doing right now. So within a few more hits, I think General and FRZ will be able to break this. So there's no archers currently. We can see that the infantry numbers are going down. And so FRZ is speeding up. You can see how how unafraid they are of just spending thousands upon thousands of gems, hundreds of thousands of gems speeding up. Now Psycho is also going in. I think Psycho is not really pulling much weight here. But they should replenish with archers. You don't need to replenish with that many archers. Just one archer is enough. But they're like slowly strolling in. Let's take a look at the numbers once again. Assess Lord from... Let's take a look at the numbers once again. FRZ is coming in again. And the numbers are not looking nearly as healthy as before. And I'm not too sure what the outcome of this battle is. It might be that FRZ is completely losing his entire army, which I don't think it is the case. What is more likely the case is that FRZ is only losing a few infantry. Like maybe only losing half of the army. And because they did not replenish the archers, they cannot deal that much damage to FRZ. So one thing that I really don't understand is why server 75 is so adverse to using speedups. Like they are allergic to it. Like speedups don't exist to them. What I would do is maybe I would send 5 armies consisting of 1 archer each. I would have everyone spam 1 army archers so that they can just continuously replenish the archers no matter what server 10 decides to try. And this will be very painful for server 10 because each time they attack, they will be losing their entire army as a result and not be able to deal that much damage to you either. Because remember, the faster you're able to kill them with your own infantry, the faster, the less damage that you will be able to take, that you will be taking from their infantry. So I don't know if it's because server 75 is not aware of this kind of strategy or something else. Because as you can see, of course they have 182 points now, which is nice, I guess. They have some points on the table. But they didn't really accomplish anything through that. They were not able to significantly weaken FRZ. Like, those opportunities are, I think, opportunities to significantly weaker people who decide to solo attack. And that is really the advantages or the chances that server 75 need to take advantage of if they want to have any hope of winning against server 10. Like if they are not prepared to replenish the archers, just send 1 troop, like 5 marches of 1 troop from this player, 3 marches of 1 troop from this player, 3 marches of 1 troop from this player. Server 10 will not be able to do anything against that. Okay, so now it appears that 75 has switched strategies again to attacking the towers. So if they are to capture the left tower and the right tower, and maybe even the south tower, but as long as General, FRZ, and a couple others are active, that makes it very hard on them to capture or even control those towers if they are able to capture it. So it's just General alone in the south tower. Do they really need the rally to kick him out? Like, this is his weak army. Like, they should, and it's a weak setup. So if I were them, I would just send my strong march to kick him out. I don't even need a rally. Azod is also rallying the bottom. Like, why not just kick him out? So the left tower is controlled by, it's also controlled by, yeah, hard to tell if this is controlled by Palm or Cycle. If this is controlled by Palm, then that's a good thing, I think, for server 75, because this is technically Morgan. I mean, not Morgan. This is technically Quinn without the awakening skill, so they will be able to deal quite a lot of damage without having to take the damage dealt by the Season 6 cavalry. So is this the... No, this is just preparing for the rally. And he also appears to be rallying the center, so I'm guessing some of these are fake rallies because you cannot really launch multiple effective rallies. One of your rallies will inevitably be weaker than the other. And of course, at the end of the day, there's only so many strong Titanos to go around. So if you are launching multiple rallies, only a few of them will be really good. So General has retreated from this tower as expected because he cannot solo defend against even a solo attack, I would say. So now this tower, I think it's empty. Or yeah, he switched it out to the stronger army. So now you cannot really kick him out. You need a rally to kick him out. But because there's not that many reinforcements, the rally will do the job. But I think they should have double rallied this instead of double rallying this. Because one rally will not be able to kick this out. That's for sure. Let's scout once again. Let's see if a solo attack is possible. So this rally has launched. And this rally has launched as well. What is in here? So he actually did take this tower, surprisingly, actually. Was that because... Let's see, White House... Okay, so as I mentioned, well, actually, it's hard to tell exactly which team defended. I'm curious to see the report. If Palm was the one who defended, then I can kind of understand how they were able to win. Because the Palm defense kind of sucked. Okay, now they are attacking the bottom tower, but I don't think it will be that interesting because there's simply not that many people in the bottom tower. But I do hope they kind of share the report. Okay, I don't think that is very productive. You can see they got immediately kicked out. And that is simply because there's not that many people in the rally. Not that many people in the defense, I mean. Palm just kind of wasted a bunch of injured troops. And now this is going to come in. If I were General, I would consider like solo attacking this, maybe. Well, he's going to replenish now, so a solo attack will not work. So let's take a look at, or let's try to understand why this rally worked. So this was defended by... Okay. Yeah, it's really hard to say which person defended this rally. If it was Palm, then I would say the rally worked because Palm was the defender and he used the incorrect cavalry hero, which is really, really bad for a rally. If I don't think Psycho was the one defending. If Psycho was the one defending, I think this would have held. Although the other members do not seem very strong either. Like, what is Baron even doing here? He is contributing negative power to this defense. Yeah, I think they won because Palm was the one defending, although I cannot be sure without seeing the report. Although we can get some clue as to how the battle went if we scout the remaining defenders here. So I expect the numbers to be fairly low if it was a close fight. It did appear to be kind of a close fight, so it might indeed have been Psycho defending. So maybe the case was that the rally itself was simply too strong. I think that was the case. And here, using 75,000 archers, I just don't quite understand the reason behind it. It's a lot of archers. And having too many archers just makes your defense weaker. So now they have control of the south tower and the west tower, but they will need more than that to make a difference. So FRZ appears to be solo attacking this once again. But General is rallying something. What is General rallying? I think he's rallying this tower. I'm not quite sure. So this is a very well defended tower right now, although the support skills could use a lot of improvement. But let's see if FRZ decides to continuously hammer this defense. So yeah, you can see King Azad is doing the right move here by continuously sending probably one archer here. This will stop any initiative by FRZ. Although personally, I would have spread these troops out much more, because if they are all condensed together, then you're essentially spending 3 per one attack from FRZ. So this is not ideal, in my opinion. So FRZ is still continuously attacking, but as long as you're replenishing the archer and infantry, the attacks will become less and less effective because you will have fewer and fewer archers in this tower. And if you are majority infantry, then the infantry from FRZ would not be able to do much to your infantry. So FRZ is still continuing to attack? Or is he retreating now? I couldn't tell. Yeah, so General is also rallying this tower. But FRZ has switched targets to this tower. This tower will be much harder to pressure for FRZ because he needs to use so many more speed ups. And at least Juggernaut is close. So let's see if Juggernaut replenishes, I mean. He should replenish, or FRZ is gonna do a lot of damage. Here he comes again. Let's scout again. Juggernaut should really replenish. I don't know what he's sleeping on, but certainly nothing good. we can see FRZ is dealing a respectable amount of damage to all these players. And they are letting FRZ deal that damage for free. If you do not replenish, then he would be dealing the damage for free. Let's scout again. And by free, I mean he might not even be losing his entire army, especially if he used the Kellerman setup. So now I think 2 people will finally get there before FRZ lands another hit. Let's see if that's the case. That does appear to be the... Well, actually they appear to be retreating entirely. However, because... Yeah, they simply retreated. I don't know what they are doing. I don't know what Juggernaut is doing, to be honest. All he could have done, I mean, all he had to do was reinforce with 1 archer and some infantry, and FRZ would have never ever be able to punch through. And FRZ would just try again and again, and for every 10,000 troop that goes to your hospital, FRZ will take like 50,000 troops to his hospital. So it's a very, very efficient trade, and not something that even FRZ can afford in a very extended battle like this. I should tell him to focus on... I should tell him to focus on replenishing the archers, because I'm not sure how much damage FRZ even took with his solo attacks there. Like, it could have been very well the case that FRZ barely lost anything, while they lost much more than FRZ, even though they had like 50 stacked teams. I mean, I think this was something they needed to run from. I'm not too sure. Like here, he had nothing left, just some infantry. Yeah, this is like no troops left. Did they have archer? I saw a couple people at the end there reinforcing, so like if they had archer, I still think that this would have defended against FRZ. Not a single archer. Yeah, that's quite disappointing. So now they have control of this tower once again. But who has control of it? Okay, so this was a full rally, but take a look at this. This is a very weak defense, as I mentioned earlier. And let's see if FRZ will solo attack this now. I think this is prime opportunity for FRZ to launch a solo attack against this tower, because the defense is just so weak. So let's see if FRZ does that, does exactly that. FRZ is in here, so I think, ironically, server 75 is getting saved by FRZ chilling in this tower instead of this tower. So they appear to be retreating from this tower after realizing that the defense is absolute junk, which is a good move. I'm glad that they are retreating. But the easiest alternative is just to have Juggernaut come reinforced with someone strong. That's all they needed to do. Like, what is their game plan now? Now they lose this tower again. Like, a tower uncaptured for server 75, because server 10 is controlling the middle, is a tower lost. So right now they have 0 towers once again. Breath of Lights, yeah, it's alright. But they gotta do something with it. Yeah, overall, with considering how many people showed up, I think overall server 10 is a bit stronger than server 75. I think overall server 75 could have done much more to pressure server 10. Even if they could not win in the end, it wouldn't be as one-sided as it has been in this clash. I think the major mistake, to summarize once again, that server 75 made was in the timing of the rallies early on. Early on, they lost a lot of rallies to either solo attacks or counter rallies from server 10. And then when they tried to coordinate their own rallies, they just threw all their rallies to a burning pit of fire, because they gave server 10 so much time in between their rallies that server 10 was able to replenish the defense with archers, and that's all they needed to do. Once you replenish with the archers, the defense is solid. You cannot punch through it anymore as long as the infantry count is sufficient. And it did turn out to be sufficient for server 10. That was the case in the Holy Mountain, and that was also the case when they attempted a triple rally on the North Tower. Now, the other significant mistake that I believe they are making, at least towards the top players in server 10, is the lack of replenishments. So when they also controlled certain towers, they never really replenished them sufficiently with their own archers. They tried to do that towards the end, but even towards the end, for example, Juggernaut, he was the leading defender in this tower. However, he never made the attempt to reinforce this tower, either to replenish the infantry or to boost the number of archers. Now, he might have been seeing how FRZ was barely losing any troops, making solo attacks against this tower, so he thought that maybe replenishing was pointless. But that was mostly because he didn't replenish with archers, and without the archers, the infantry is legitimately useless. He cannot do any damage without the archer support, without his skills 3 support, to be specific. So I think on that note, they could have done much more devastating damage to solo players like FRZ and General, who would pressure you with solo attacks. Because the defending stats, once you stack 5 Titanos and all those heroes, as well as whatever passive skills that you have the chance of incorporating into your defense, FRZ is not stronger than your defense. His stats are lower, his skills are lower, and his troop count is lower. But if you don't have the archer, then it kind of flips on itself. FRZ suddenly has much higher damage to you than compared to you, and is able to deal much more damage to your defense than whatever damage he suffers from your defense. So now I see that server 75 once again is launching a rally to the middle, but this is a single rally as far as I can tell. Is anyone else launching a rally? It doesn't appear to be the case. I see people joining the rally, but what is the rally for if it cannot break the defense? Once again, we go back to the original problem. If you just start a rally, what is the point of the rally? What is the rally trying to accomplish? So I see that King Leonidas is also launching a rally. So this is what they need to do. And let's see if they can time their double rally well once again. And this brings us to kind of the third thing that I don't believe server 75 is taking the right approach on, and that is the lack of using speedups. And look at Palm. All players under server 10 has zero hesitation to use their speedups, either with gems or whatever packs that they might have bought. However, server 75 in contrast just does not seem to be using any sort of speedups. Like, they speed up marginally in order to coordinate these rally hits, but none of them seem to have the initiative to spam those speedups like server 10 top players do. And it's very interesting to see that contrast and the battle result and the differences in like how the combat results from whether you use speedups or whether you don't. And I still think that versus server 10 is better to coordinate via the voice chat if you can time your rally as well as they did last time. But still, I think King Azod was very slow in his last hit. If the double rally didn't work, then Psycho would have reinforced with the archer. Well, if he reinforced correctly, that is. But if Psycho reinforced with the archer, then once again, the double rally didn't work, and then King Azod would have made a futile effort once again. So let's see how well they can time the rallies this time around. This time, what I'm hoping to see is that King Azod will be able to coordinate much better than he did last time. So general is coming in. I think this is too early though. I don't think this is going to accomplish much. Let's see if general is actually in here. So really the only way to defend against multiple rallies is to try to replenish in time. And that is something that is just so hard to do if your enemy is coordinated and do some kind of speed up rush. So we have Psycho, we have Carl, we have FRZ. So FRZ is probably the primary defender. As for rally supports, they do have Kellerman. They have Michael, but that's pretty useless. So just Kellerman as rally support. So now General is going to join. And they have ample amounts of Titanos. We can see that the stats of this defense is extremely high. And as everyone knows, for rally as well as for rally defense, they count the top 5 Titanos. So basically the top 5 Titanos will contribute to the stats of the rally or the defense. And in this case, you will count 1 maxed Season 6 Titanos, 2 maxed, and a max Windstrider, 2 max Windstriders. So this is pretty much contributing like 500% stats across the board. And that is very powerful. So let's see the result of this rally, which will be launched in about 3 minutes from now. In the meantime, we can check back at their power. Once again, FRZ still at its original power. And this is the power of buying healing speedups. He's just spamming healing speedups to the end of days. And he's pretty much never going to run out. But you can still punish a player like this by forcing him to use like triple the speedups that he would have otherwise needed. And in the long run, it does hurt a player like this. And it also kind of gains you a lot of respect if you can burn other people's like stamina, energy, or speed ups through good gameplay rather than just pure raw power. Okay, so the rallies have launched, and it appears that they will attempt another triple timing attack. So let's see how well it works this time. So for example, I have a spotter with me, and the spotter is in voice chat, is telling me how close the next march is at arriving to the center. And if the next march is still far away, then I will tell my rally leaders to just spam speedups instantly. And there's just no way to defend against that. So it appears that Leonidas will hit first. The other 2 rallies are quite a bit behind. Palm might even... Okay, so Juggernaut did speed up. But let's see if Palm is able to get in. I think Palm did get in, so Juggernaut is not going to make it. So Juggernaut is going to waste his rally, but I don't know if Psycho managed to get in before King Azod hit. It does appear that Psycho got in, so once again, this was a good attempt, but unfortunately poorly timed rally combination from server 75, and props to server 10 for being able to fill in the gaps so well in between hits from server 75. I think overall Azod and Juggernaut hit pretty closely together, but Leonidas was just so poorly timed with the other 2. But I think this could just be so easily fixed by using speedups for the rallies. Just spam, use 6,000 gems or even 8,000 to 10,000 gems. Just instantly hit, and your opponent will have 0 time to react. So now what is 75 going to do? They are back at square one, not able to control this tower because you simply cannot deal with FRZ if you do not properly replenish your towers. It's impossible because he's just gonna spam you while losing very little. Like, he is not even using his main team. Like, what is in here? Nothing. So is this battle going to conclude, or will they continue? So King Leonidas is rallying this tower, but it is a single rally, I think. I mean, I think just a moment ago, he could have personally kicked FRZ out. FRZ didn't have any archers. He still doesn't have any archers, so I don't know what Leonidas is doing. Is he afraid of FRZ? Like, you should not be afraid of a Season 6 team that is not running any archers. Like, what is there to be afraid of? Let's kick him out. It does appear that he has lost a lot of power, surprisingly, so is he running out of healing speedups? Let's see what the scores are. They have not really fought all that much. Like 2 billion, that's not a very high score. 3.8 is decent, but overall, in terms of like Holy Mountain battles, these scores have been pretty low. And overall, we can take a look at the trade efficiency maybe. It's hard to tell because a lot of this was from the pre-hegemony stage. Okay, so now that you've rallied to the bottom, what is the plan? Are you going to defend? Are you going to defend it from FRZ or something else? So FRZ might, let's see if he will get kicked out from this tower. Like this battle so far, it hasn't even been that painful for FRZ. The defenses were just so kind of weak, and FRZ couldn't have suffered that much losses over them. So FRZ is soon about to get kicked out from here, I think, if the rally launches soon. If the rally takes longer to launch, then they might be able to reinforce enough for FRZ to defend. So General is coming out. General is probably going to attack, to reinforce here, I'm guessing. Like, just look at how quickly General left the center. That is a bit of decisiveness that server 75 does not appear to have. Okay, so now he is reinforcing. And look at his speed ups. Boom, 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 boom. So that was 8,000 diamonds right there. I don't know if that degree of speed up was necessary, but that is something that server 75 isn't really doing. So this rally is kind of pointless now. I do not recommend launching it. I mean, the fact that it wasn't a double rally is kind of strange. Now they need to guard this tower. And maybe this tower. I'm not too sure who's actually in here. So the only way they can even have any hope of breaking this tower is if they kill the archers. But I don't think that's what they will do. So let's quickly take a look at that tower. Okay, there's nobody in here. So Palm is going in as well, so this is just futile. And it's not even using the Kellerman hero, so I would cancel this rally right now. Like, this is just pointless. There's nothing supporting this rally. Like, he's not going to do much damage besides kill the archers. So let's see the damage dealt. Yeah, pretty much nothing. Dealt maybe 30% damage. Of course, the archers are gone, so had they double rallied, it would have worked just fine. So this was not only a waste of time, but a waste of troops from server 75. Like, if they want any shot at winning against probably the strongest server in the game right now, they cannot continue to play these weak tactics. This guy is right. Server 10 versus server 40 was the most intense clash. Server 10 versus 75 just feels like a bit of bullying. Honestly, at this point, it's already pretty difficult because server 10 is already halfway. And there's not that much server 75 can do to move the tides in the other direction. Because the buffs are already pretty much maxed. So they will be maxed in 30 minutes. And if they cannot, like those extra 10% buffs, they're not going to do much if server 75 just keeps on playing like this. I'm just still so surprised by the lack of speed up usage from server 75. Like if I had a comparison, a direct comparison between the number of gems that server 10 used in speed ups compared to server 75, like in total across all players, server 75 is probably like below 100,000, 200,000 gems speed up wise. And server 10 probably above 3 million gems in terms of speedups. That is the difference. Like I would actually be surprised if server 75 as a whole used more than 200,000 gems in terms of speedups. And we can really see how this showcases the balance of the Battle of Disorder. Because server 10 is strong enough to completely dominate these other servers. And it will be a bit interesting to see how server 10 contends with server 22. I think server 22 is still quite a bit weaker because maybe we'll have a case where Harry matches with FRZ General matches with Baddie. But besides those two people, server 22 does not have enough mid-range power, mid-upper range power, I should say. Whereas server 10, it has Psycho, it has Car, it has Palm, and a couple other relatively strong players. But yeah, server 10 does not do very well in the Battle of Disorder because no matter how much Lord power you have, no matter how high of Glorious tier you are, no matter how strong your troops are, a random free-to-play player using the good composition and having decent stats and max tree buffs, they will hurt you a lot. So now General is rallying this tower. I don't think there's much juice left in this tower. Although it will still be interesting to see if like a defense can hold against General. Because if we take a look at the defense here, you have no supporting skills, unfortunately. But it's still not that weak of a defense. Okay, maybe it is quite weak because the troop composition here is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Mediocre. Decent. Oh, okay. Terrible. This is good. This is good. I mean, the troop quality is just not there. Like, they need, like, a couple of T12s would help, of course. Better Titanos would help a lot. Like, right here they have, like, it's not terrible, but I think overall the lack of support, like support skills and everything, I'm not sure if they can hold up to a rally from General. Like theoretically, I think with good support skills and good unit compositions across the board, they should be able to defend against a rally from General. Because it's certainly easy to defend against a solo attack from General. Even with General using a very strong composition, it's possible to defend against a solo attack. especially considering that they are not running cavalry heavy. They are running infantry heavy for the most part of their rallies. So I think not being able to defend against General's rally is only a reflection of the poor troop composition, of course, lack of stats to some degree. This doesn't help their cause either. And ultimately, the lack of good support skills. But it does appear that we are about to see the end of this clash. I think after General kicks Server 75 from the South Tower, that will spell the conclusion of this fight. I think with the couple pushes Server 75 made at the end, they did show more commitment than Server 71 did, but ultimately it still was not a very good challenge for Server 10. So General's rally has launched. And he was able to kick out the Server 75 defense. So the number of losses appears to be decent. So they did have Kellerman support as well, which does count to some degree. And overall, with one support skill and improved stats, as well as improved troop quality, I think that's kind of what made the difference. So has this battle concluded? What is Juggernaut doing? Is that a solo attack? That scout is too late. You don't have time to check the scout. And wait, what? Oh, that was a rally. Okay, now he should replenish the archer. Because General is coming in hot. Not that hot. So let's see the result. He didn't lose much. So the defense must have been rather weak at this tower. Okay, now General is coming, but did they replenish the archer? Now you can see why it's easier to deal with towers far away from their top players. They just don't have time to, I mean, the distance is very large. Okay, now he is coming in. Let's see if he replenishes the archers. And as long as he replenishes the archers like this, General really cannot do much. So he launches the rally, and that's really the only thing he can do. Now, what I'm really interested in is, in a good defensive setup, can they defend from an attack from General? I mean, a rally from General. So he actually did not replenish the archers, interestingly enough. And you can see how much extra damage his defensive took. I really wish they... So they have a Horus here, which is good, but they need a Kellerman. Like a Kellerman is quite important as part of a rally defense, or even a rally. All right, FRZ is back in action. Let's see how well they replenish the archers. So I expect archers to be gone. So just one troop. All you need to do, like a counter rally is just the wrong approach here. A counter rally is never going to work because first of all, it's too late. And second of all, they can't reinforce enough at that point by the time that your rally launches, especially if you don't speed up, that your rally is just going to hit a brick wall. So let's take a look. As expected, the archers are gone. Yes, they are gone. So Miku Eternal, let's see if Miku was able to replenish the archers. Well, I won't be able to see now because FRZ just hit. But let's scout again. Six speed ups. And let's see how many speed ups FRZ uses during an attack. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 13 speed ups, that's 26,000 gems per attack. And that is really devastating to the attacker, having to spend 23,000 gems per attack. That's like permanently losing 2,000 T12 troops. Actually, I could check that if that is the case. You guys watch for me if server 75 is replenishing the archers. Okay, so it takes about 23,000 gems to train 2,400 chaos troops. So about 1,000 gems per 100 troops. So 25,000 gems, that's kind of equivalent to 2,500 chaos troops, T12 troops. So this is a big cost for FRZ. And you can see now Juggernaut is finally like maybe taking the initiative to replenish the archers. Let's see if that's the case. And FRZ will be forced to give up. If he does it well. I have to scout again because FRZ just hit. Like Juggernaut right now is in a prime position to deal heavy damage to FRZ. And I'm really curious how far FRZ can take these solo hits. Has he replenished the archer? No, he hasn't. So he's taking, I think, unnecessary damage. A lot of unnecessary damage. Of course, a lot of infantry is good. But oh, here's the archer. So DJ, good job. You did good. And of course, the general rally came. So that didn't help him. So if I remember correctly, let's see. So a possible strategy might be to take advantage of FRZ's tactic here is to double rally a tower, take it, and then by the time General's rally is about to come, just retreat everyone. And in the meantime, FRZ can keep hitting you, and you'll be able to just, keep shaving down at his speed ups without losing all that much. Of course, that is assuming that you're able to replenish correctly all the time. So, of course, General hit a very weak defense. Yeah, like at that point, if you know you cannot hold a rally, just retreat. No, this is server 10. Like if you cannot hold a rally, just retreat. There is no shame in retreating when you are able to deal heavy damage to the enemy while doing so. And in my point of view, that is worth it. So it doesn't look like there's much going on. Server 75 is kind of trying to gnaw away at server 10, but I'm not sure if it's accomplishing anything, to be honest. Like, is he rallying this empty tower right now? Well, I'm just going to put my screen here, and I'm curious to see if they will use the strategy I suggested earlier, which is just to let FRZ hit it continuously while replenishing with archers, and then retreat before General comes. At least, although you have retreated, first of all, you will suffer no losses from General's rally. Second of all, you'll be able to waste a lot of FRZ's gems and speed ups. So I will leave the screen here and be back in a bit. Hello, we are back, and it does appear that this fight between server 10 and server 75 has concluded with server 10's victory for the Holy Mountain. And that does mean that server 10, yet again, retains their record of never losing a server versus server Holy Mountain battle. So congratulations to them, and especially congratulations to their top players, FRZ, General, Psycho, Car, as well as Palm, as well as the rest of their supporting members. I hope everyone enjoyed this battle. Overall, I think server 10 did a pretty good job at solo attacking as well as initiating key rallies and defending multiple rallies from server 75. Although server 75 gave server 10 quite a big windows between how soon, like the interval between different rallies, I still think that server 10 did a great job at making sure that their defense had archers in them, because sometimes that is not easy at all to do. So I hope everyone enjoyed watching, and I will see everyone in the next video. Take care.